than your standard routine studies. But if a study comes in as routine and you believe this really should be read sooner, you could change the priority to a stat or something higher, and it will bubble up to the top of the list. What do you guys think? Do you think you'll use those two options at all?
Not really for me.
Okay. All right. Nevertheless, they're there if you need them.
Okay.
All right, the last the last option is your tech QC. Now, primarily, the radiologist would use this to QC a study. I'm also learning that technologists can also QC studies, so I want to just bring our attention to this. So as you're reviewing a study, or the radiologist is reviewing a study, and they recognize that this study should not be read, it's missing something. Maybe it's incomplete or suboptimal image quality, whatever the case may be. You want to just bring attention to that study and somehow flag it that we don't want it read. So that's what a tech QC would do for you. Let me just kind of go through a little bit of the steps here. We've got, of course, all that study information up here. And then why would we perhaps want to bring attention to this study? So you can select whatever that might be, add in a note. Notes will actually appear on the work list for the radiologist. All they have to do is hover, and they'll be able to read your note. And then whoever performed the study would automatically appear. I'm just going to select a test right now, but that technologist would automatically appear. And then there's two options. So we have an option for critical, and really that means this study cannot be read at this time. It's a critical QC issue. Maybe I can't view the images for whatever reason, or the technique was incorrect. The critical QC issue will flag that study as a do not read. It'll actually put a exclamation symbol, we'll call it a hazard symbol, on that particular study. And for the most part, it will drop off the reading work list. Most of our radiologists are filtering out or excluding the studies that are marked do not read. Some doctors may have it filtered to show. But nevertheless, it will create an event for someone to resolve before it can be read. And I'm going to show you how we do that. The other option, if it's not critical, would be, and certainly you can read it. There's nothing really stopping you from reading that study or stopping the radiologist from reading the study. But I just want to bring attention to it. I just want someone to look at it. So you can create a non-critical issue, or the radiologist can create a non-critical issue. And then, so before I take you to how we resolve these issues, I want to just pause and ask if there's any questions on how to create a Tech QC event. Pretty straightforward?
Yes.
Feel pretty comfortable? Okay. I'm going to cancel. I don't want to actually create one, but I'm going to show you how we resolve them now. So this next section, I'm going to close up our create new and open up our work list. So we have a Tech QC work list. All right, so we can manage all of those events, whether they're critical or non-critical, in this work list. But as a technologist, you may not want to see everything out there. If you can imagine, this list might be pretty long, so you can use some filters. You might want to just filter by the criticals first and resolve the criticals first, because remember, they're marked do not read, and we want to resolve those so that the radiologist can read them. So this is specific to technologists. Technologists are going to resolve the issues. So I would probably start off with my criticals and work through the list. Open means still open, it's still marked do not read, I need to resolve this issue. We also have the ability to look at our closed items. Perhaps a lead or a supervisor might just want to monitor and take a look at the closed items. But for purposes of resolving the issue, I'd want to look at my open items. And then reviewed means, has someone else started reviewing this item, this particular event? If they have, maybe I want to leave it to them and let them complete that. Otherwise, I would say, no, I want, something that someone else isn't already working on. I'm going to work on this one. All right, I'm going to leave it on all because I know someone's already started on this one. Now, flagged means who actually created the event. So let's say you get a call from a radiologist and they say, hey, I can't read this study because whatever the reason is. So you could actually sort your list by who flagged that study. All right, we have time frame, we have type of issue. Remember I showed you some of those issues in complete exam, artifact. We even have an option to say, hey, great job on this study. I just want someone to be aware of it. Great job, kudos. Also, who was the technologist on that particular study? You could sort by yourself and just say, show me all of mine. All right. And then, of course, modality, if you wanted to search by patient name, medical record number, session number, if that's how the radiologist explained it to you. And then where was that study performed, that performing resource? So a lot of ways to filter your list, and it will stick for you. So you'll be able to open up your list and it will be set the way you like it without having to change your filters. All right. So I would click anywhere on this row. Notice my pointer turns to a hand. I'm just going to click to open up that issue. And as I update this issue, it'll collect here in the history. So we'll be able to see an ongoing history of what's happened with this particular study. So I could say for immediate, let's see, I don't know, let me say, priors have been obtained. So maybe that's the reason why it was flagged a tech QC issue. And as I add them, it'll collect in the history. And then if I've resolved this issue, I would just click tech QC issue resolved. And what will happen is that do not read flag comes off of that study. That study appears back on the reading work list for the radiologist to read. But at least we have a history of what happened with that study. Questions I can answer? Feel pretty comfortable with resolving tech QC issues? And we have training material that we're also going to be sending out, but once I resolve an issue, it becomes closed, of course, so it would no longer be an open item. So pretty straightforward. Just type in what you've done. There will be a section here for my name, as I failed to mention that, and I know we're working on that. If you would be able to select your name as the person who's resolved that issue, and then tech QC issue resolved. All right. What questions do you have? I'm hearing silence, and I just want to make sure everybody feels comfortable with that.
No questions right now.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. We also have this tracking board. The only reason I'm going to demonstrate this is because it also has the tech QC issues. We're going to be adding in a later phase another option called findings, and that's where everything can be managed here in the tracking board. But the tech QCs are also here on the tracking board. You would just click the patient name. Notice it looks familiar, same GUI, and then you just fill in the updates and tech QC resolved. So it's basically the same thing. We just have two options, two ways of getting there. And then this is do we have a question? Okay. This is a feature I personally like also. It is the tech work list. So albeit we are not given access to workflow orchestration as technologists, we still have visibility into the radiologist reading work lists. So I can come up here and say, since I work with the chest radiologist most often, I want to see the work list that they're on. So I might go to the unread work list. and I can see everything that they're viewing. So I can change my my filters to say, show me 5 days worth. I want to see everything that's scheduled, right? That's the S, they're scheduled. I can see everything in progress, that's the I. So meaning that the exam has not been completed yet, but it's still in progress. And I have completed for all the completed studies. All right. It's very helpful perhaps to see what the radiologists see on their work list, that do not read. Remember, we talked about that a little bit. So if a study is still marked do not read, and maybe maybe you're trying to work with a radiologist to say, hey, I have a study, but I've marked it do not read. So just want to let you know, we're working on that. You would see it's marked do not read. They may have it dropped off their work list, and that's why they're not seeing it. Other options here, we have an open button if you would like to click that to see the images. So maybe a radiologist calls you about a particular study. You can, click open to see the images for that study. I would recommend that they send you a chat with the patient in context. That would probably be a lot easier for you to open the images rather than looking on the work list, but you can do both. And then if the radiologist is reading it, it will be locked. And if it's reserved for them, perhaps they've reserved the study, or you've assigned that study to them, it would be reserved. And you would see that in this column here. Now, these last 3 options, I'm not sure if that would apply to you. It would be all draft reports, prelim reports, and final reports. So they've already been dictated. So it might be helpful if you're curious if the radiologist has already read that study. You could certainly search by draft, prelim, or final.
Nice.
Do you find that this would be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, any questions regarding the work lists? All right, so let me just do a little recap of what we've talked about. We certainly talked about how to change your status so that other folks know if you're here or not. You're logged in with a green dot. How to create a chat with a contact, how to search for them, how to filter out your list. Notice we have the plus sign so that we can have a chat with the patient in context or without. And then if that if that contact is not online, we also have the ability to send them a rad mail. And we talked about how to create that rad mail with patient in context, of course. So all they have to do is click that information and launch the images. And then we talked about how to create some personal reminders, assign an exam to a radiologist so that it's a quick, easy access, how to change a priority so it bubbles up to the top of their list, and how to create a QC event, especially if you need to mark something do not read. And we would mark it do not read with a critical QC issue. Then we also talked about how to resolve those issues, and we resolve them in our work lists with the Tech QC work list. And it's just adding your notes and resolving the issue. Do we feel pretty comfortable with those options?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
The
Yes.
last cover then is my stuff. Profile information. If you see anything in here that may need to be updated, let's just reach out to the admins. They can do that for you. Likewise with your workstation information. We're going to be uploading all of the phone numbers in here so that the radiologists also have your phone number. They can reach out to you by phone. Notice when I selected Michael from here, his phone number shows right away. All right. I understand that's how they reach out to you today, is by phone number. Again, just a reminder, here's where you find those personal reminders that you create for yourself. Open items, that's a future feature, so I'm just briefly going to talk about that. if a radiologist creates a request from, say, a technologist or a reading room assistant, they'll be able to find their open items here and they can monitor if they've been resolved or not. So that's really for the radiologist. And then the last option we have is preferences. Yes, albeit it's plural, there's only one. Do you want your communicator palette in front? So if you can imagine a diagnostic workstation and you have other applications perhaps, do you want to keep this palette on top? I do recommend that you do. Remember, we can minimize it, move it out of the way so it's not so intrusive. And as you receive a chat, it will pop open. Looks like we have a couple of chats here. Let me address those. Will there be radiologist grouping based on type? Yes, sir. Let me address that. So in our contacts, let me just show you how we can filter them first. So I can filter by all radiologists or all technologists. That is one way to filter. We are also going to be adding groups and departments. So this might also be very helpful if you want to just reach out to, say, breast imaging department, or a group of section heads, or maybe a location. Maybe there's a group of radiologists at a particular location. We'll be updating that soon. So great question. Yeah, exactly. And that happens all the time, right? You don't know necessarily who's going to be reading the study. You just want to reach out to all in the group. So great question. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate everybody's time this morning. We're going to be sending out some materials for you. You have my email address, so if you have any questions that come up, please feel free to send that email address. I'm actually compiling all of the questions into a Q&A, and I'll be getting those out once all of our technologist training events are completed.
Okay.
Thank you, Rhonda.
All right. You're welcome. I wish everybody a great day today.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a great one.